On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. One of the biggest concerns that I've had, and I think a lot of other people probably have had that have been following this Q information for a while, is this idea that a different presidential candidate for the Democratic Party is going to come out. Somebody else. It's not going to be Biden. Come on, everybody knows it. Biden's a joke. He can't carry a freaking sentence along without breaking it up with 15 uhs and 12 different what was it talking about? Like, I don't know what's wrong with the guy. He's a sweet man. He actually looks a lot like my father, so I naturally want to like him. I just feel bad for the dude, but he's obviously not going to be president. So what are they going to do? Been a lot of rumors that Obama was going to come back into play, that some sort of Hillary Obama ticket, maybe some sort of Hillary Michelle Obama ticket, which to me, that was the scary one. I was always worried about the Michelle Hillary ticket. I figured no matter what, that would be a strong ticket. And I wondered what the Patriots were doing about that. I think we finally got our answers. I think we got some major answers hinting at what's going on. This movement is very much painting anybody that was attached to the Obama franchise, anybody that was attached to the Obama organization, the Big O. Those people are guilty by association. And as we're finding out, they're actually not just guilty by association, they're actually nailing them themselves. Biden, I think just yesterday, on camera, saying something, and then bam, we get a release today, a Q drop today, the declas today from Grenell. And all of a sudden, Obama's a liar. Or I mean, Biden's a liar. How did that happen? Well, actually, Obama's a liar too. Let's just call them both out. What the heck? Leaving off, last post we did was 4221. Let's go ahead and hit up this 4222. Just again, they're pointing out the fact that when cameras are on, the masks are on. When the cameras are off, wonder why that is. Give me kind of an example here. Cameras on, cameras off, cameras on, cameras off. I think I went backwards on those, but you get the point. 4223, got a Katie Pavlich story here that's shared with us. The overwhelming majority of people recover from this virus. That's Dr. Fauci. That's a quote from him. We got a cool little update here also. Post 4224. Flynn update. Looks like Judge Sullivan, he's the guy that was supposed to allow Flynn to retract his guilty plea, has what's going to allow for public comment apparently, but he's got a minute order anticipating that individuals and organizations will seek leave to file briefs for the benefit of the court. Now, this briefing is scheduled will follow. So given the current posture of this case, the court anticipates that individuals and organizations will seek leave of the court to file amicus curiae briefs pursuant to local civil rule 7(o). He also hasn't highlighted an amicus curiae defined as friend of the court, does not represent the parties, but participates only for the benefit of the court. Accordingly, at the appropriate time, the court will enter a scheduling order governing the submission of any amicus curiae briefs. Now, there's a bunch of other legalese in here. Tried to pull up a couple things. I am not a lawyer by any means, but it's fun to look up stuff. An amicus curiae brief that brings to the attention of the court relevant matters not already brought to its attention by the parties may be of considerable help to the court. An amicus curiae brief does not serve the purpose that would burden the court, and its filings are not favored. An amicus curiae brief may be filed only by an attorney admitted to the practice before this court as provided by Rule 5. Admission to the bar, Rule 5. So, pretty much you got to be a lawyer. There's a bunch of rules that are laid out here. You got to pay your $200 to the Supreme Court, apparently. You got to basically be a lawyer, I think, admission to the bar, right? You got to be part of the bar. So, that's who can file it. This is being filed because new information has come to light, and the court is realizing that it may need to step back and allow this to be filed so that new comments can be added to this case. So it sounds like he's taking steps in the direction that's going to allow Flynn the opportunity to amend his guilty plea, I guess, because that seems to be the big sticking point. He's not technically guilty. He didn't technically do what he pleaded guilty of, and so he wanted to say, I was not really guilty, just kidding. And so maybe that's not quite as easy to do legally as one might want. I can get that. I can get behind that. 4225. Got France, apparently, and this is kind of interesting. This is out of Forbes. France is apparently has increased its number of prescriptions of the hydroxychloroquine, significantly. Like the number went skyrocketing. I want to say here, before the pandemic, an average of 50 prescriptions were written each day in Marseille for hydroxychloroquine. The day after the Didier Raoult announced his findings in Marseille. I am so not French. You guys can obviously tell. This had jumped to 450 per day on March 18th. That figure then spiked further to 5,000 prescriptions a day across the whole of France. The research author believes that at this point, 41,000 people were given the drug between March 16th and April 19th. A friend of mine was asking a question recently, and it was just a question. It's one I'm wondering about. I'm not saying this is the answer, but it makes me wonder. Why is it that the United States is so severely, like our numbers are so bad, like significantly bad? Like we're one of the cleanest, best medicine, like all the thing nations in the world, right? We're not the most populous by any means, and certainly there's other more populous, more dirty people on top of each other that weren't nearly as bad as our numbers. But what is interesting is we seem to be very against this particular malaria drug and its use with the Z-Pack. And for whatever reason, we seemed kind of against doing that. And so maybe, I don't know, I just wonder. I wonder if the things that we're doing differently here, that's odd because we've got larger numbers, and you think our numbers would be way, way, way better. Post 4226, very, very cool stuff here. This is a big one. So an older post was brought up, apparently. We've got the paper trail, special entry, this has had to do a lot with, they're talking about, I think, the visitor logs and all these, the people that were going to be showing up. So we had this Natalia Veselnitskaya, I'm so bad with Russian, and she went to visit Manafort. So immediately after this Russian lawyer goes and visits Manafort, a Pfizer warrant is issued and approved against Manafort. And then immediately Mueller goes after Manafort. We get a Pfizer warrant issued, approved against Papadopoulos. Immediately Mueller goes after Papadopoulos. You can see the trend, right? Got the same thing for Page. Suddenly Page is in. Same thing for Flynn. Suddenly Flynn. Mueller's, crosshairs are on him. So great work by the Anons. Right off the bat, let's look at this blue sky thing. So Judge Sullivan resides in the same court as the FISA court. Here he is with James Boasberg and Rosemary Collier, I guess, who both have signed the FISA warrant. Judge Contreras, Flynn's first judge, had to be removed from the case because of his personal relationships with Strzok. Again, drain the swamp. But this is the whole FISA court, right? This is all these guys, I think, as of probably right now anyways. And all these same people are still there, have been there, and are interestingly appointed, obviously. And we'll get to that in a second. So very good find by the Anons, but you must go back before you can go forward. So he references this article. So the judge, back in 2017, December 7th, obviously after D5, which is going to come up, hint, hint. 2017, judge presiding over the Michael Flynn criminal case is recused. U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia judge presiding over the criminal case for President Donald Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, has been recused from handling the case, a court spokeswoman said on Thursday. According to a court filing, U.S. District Court Judge Rudolph Contreras, who presided over a December 1st hearing where Flynn pleaded guilty to lying to the Federal Bureau of Investigations, lying to the Federal Bureau of Investigations, not perjury. It's a different thing, even though it's a semantics in a legal sense. But he lied about that to his with his contacts with Russia, and that judge could no longer handle the case. So again, it's just kind of showing us, hey, look, here's what happened. This person had to be recused. Now, Contreras was appointed to the bench in 2012 by Barack Obama, and he was also appointed to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court May 2016 for a term lasting through 2023. 2023 is kind of interesting if you think about it. Obviously, if the re-election occurred of Hillary or Donald Trump, this would be the final years for that particular FISA judge to be there. And since they've been using this as a weapon against Trump for a while, my guess is in case he was still in office post this coming election, they still have some swamp people left around to maybe make things difficult. Something to consider. So again, at the hearing Thursday, the House Judiciary Committee, Republican lawmaker Jim Jordan pressed FBI Director Christopher Wray on whether a former British spy's dossier of allegations of Russian financial and personal links to Trump's campaign and associates was used by Strzok to obtain a FISA warrant to surveil the Trump transition team. Judge Sullivan previously served on the Superior Court of the District of Columbia and the District of Columbia Court of Appeals under the appointments of Republican Presidents Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, respectively. This guy goes back a ways. Okay, so a little more story has been painted for us. So why did the U.S. District Court Judge Rudolph Contreras recuse? Got this third thing, which I don't know if that... Yeah, I did, right here. So we talk about the current members. Contreras, he recused. Now, I don't know, one thing I kind of want to point out that I think is interesting is when he was appointed, so May, before Trump was in office, obviously, runs out in 2023, May 18th. So again, not before the presidential term is over, but certainly towards the end of it. Also, what's strange though is Anne Conway was done at the same time, and I kind of wonder about her. Pulled up some info. She was brought in by, I think, the Bushes, somewhere in here. Where did I see that? Nominated by George H.W. Bush back on 1991. So, been around the block a few times, but also, same time is in the FISA court where some interesting things were done without any proof. Now, let's give the court some benefit of the doubt and assume that they were expecting everyone to be in good standing and telling the truth and all that. And that's part of the agreement when you're doing a FISA. But why did Contreras recuse himself? He was a current member of the FISA court, and he happened to sign in the Flynn FISA case. Swamp is running deep, and I think that's what we're starting to see. We're starting to see the way these judges are tied in, the way they were actually chosen by the same individual that had approved the spying. We're talking Obama. So all this stuff goes to the tippy top. We're probably going to find that it's very likely that Biden maybe knew a little bit more about it than originally thought. So let's see where this takes us. I've got an old post here referenced on 4227. They're referencing 4017. Was the DNC hacked by Russia? CIA Brennan force. They're wondering, was this DNC hack done by Russia or was it done by the CIA and then made to look like it was Russian? And they do that in a number of ways. They do it with little keys within the code. They can do little snippets of the code. There's certain code that's very regionalized, certain dialects, certain languages. Again, certain variables that can be used. Again, it's just very interesting how these things can work. Seth Rich, internal distribution list, I'm assuming is what DL stands for, but a hand-to-hand, like a USB. It's what they kept talking about. It was the only way to get the speeds. The download speeds that they talked about, especially if Russia had done it, meant that they would have come across the Atlantic, and there's this fiber optic cable, to my understanding, that runs across the Atlantic. But to get speeds that Seth Rich must have gotten for the bandwidth, for the amount of stuff, for the time it took, there's no way that could have happened from across the pond. So it is an interesting question. When did CrowdStrike get a hold of this? When did they insert their code, or any code that needed to be in there? If FBI chain of command was corrupt at that time, especially because we know it was Comey, and Comey was saying all sorts of things like, yeah, Hillary shouldn't have done this. That was against the law. Hillary knew that she shouldn't have done it. She broke the law in a number of cases, over 100 places where she'd done this, had top secret information on her server and shouldn't have. But we'll let her go anyway. So again, these are the same people. So if FBI chain of command was corrupt, what other investigations were corrupt? Right? I mean, you've got to ask these questions. Who did they provide cover for? How far back did it go? How far back does this go? Now, honestly, the deep state goes back very far. I think way pre-Russia, or way pre-Reagan, before Kennedy, obviously, because Kennedy tried to do something about it, many suggest, and we saw what happened. Reagan got shot. He tried to get involved with stuff in an interesting way. That didn't go well. Here we are, again, another president trying to go after the deep state, and it seems has a lot of help to do at this time, and is actually proving to be rather successful. But if anything, he's definitely pissing them off, and that is kind of fun to watch. So how far back did it go? Right here we get another link to a Breitbart news article. Russia, target bold brackets, right? Narrative is all fake. all of this narrative was not correct. This guy, John Brennan, CIA. I don't know why I can't trust the CIA. It just seems so strange that we might not be able to trust the CIA. But Fox's News, Ed Henry, reported Tuesday evening that Acting Director of the National Intelligence, Richard Grenell, has declassified information calling into question the conclusion that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump. Henry told Tucker Carlson on Tucker Carlson Tonight that the new information would suggest that John Brennan, who headed the Central Intelligence Agency under President Barack Obama, also had intel saying actually Russia wanted Hillary Clinton to win because she was a known quantity. She had been Secretary of State, and Vladimir Putin's team thought she was more malleable, while candidate Donald Trump was unpredictable. One other funny thing is the whole Uranium One scandal, right? That was Russia tied into all that stuff too, or if not, Ukraine, which again, I think is where Russia was coming into it and saying, hey, look, I think we can bribe her. She's controllable. Donald Trump, not so much. That's what the information said. Doesn't matter. They chose to ignore that. This guy, Brennan, chose to ignore that and said, no, what we're going to do is we're going to get this crafted story by the Democratic National Committee and Hillary Clinton. Fortunately, they split the bill. That was very kind of them. So we're going to take their dossier and we're going to use that instead. And from that, built an entire case against the president and the elected president, for that matter, of the United States of America. It is very, very interesting, the information that is dripping its way out the door. Apparently right now, Board 4228, and this was a little earlier today, is under heavy attack. Wonder why. Wonder why they're going after Q again. Again, why do you attack? You attack because it's something that's a threat. You attack because you have to. You attack because it's dangerous. But here, let's see what they've shared with us. So we've got this new scoop. CBS News. CBS, wow, they're finally doing some actual reporting. That's possibly correct. But they obtained the Richard Grenell notification to Congress declassifying or the unmasking list. Flynn between the late 2016 and 2017. So they want us to pay particular attention to these 3 pages provided by the NSA. Now the first couple pages are very, interesting. Some names that you probably recognize. The 3rd page is fantastic. So let's just skip to the 3rd page. What I notice here is on the very bottom of the 3rd page, got the Vice President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden. Apparently, he was one of the people on the unmasking list, the 17 people that wanted to have Trump unmasked. Joe Biden has pretty much claimed he knew nothing about it. I say pretty much only in that I just wanted to set this up properly.
I was aware that they asked for an investigation, but that's all I know about it, and I don't think anything else. Can you imagine any other president of the United States focusing on this at the moment when the country is just absolutely concerned about their health, the health of their children, the health of their families, the health of their... I mean, we have an economic crisis. We have a health crisis. This is all about diverting attention.
All about diverting attention. Pot, meet kettle. Kettle, meet pot. Very nice to see each and every one of you guys getting along with each other so well. Yeah, Biden, stopping that again. There we go. Biden seems to be in big trouble. They got him to admit on TV that he didn't have any knowledge of something that now declassification shows that's not true. So, one more member of the Obama group that is now outed as lying, knowing what's going on, possibly being implicated in some illegal activities, or if not, certainly stuff that's not appropriate for the heights of the president. Looks like Obama is on that now, which Michelle Obama's kind of in that by just proxy, but I think we're going to find some more information out about her soon. And then, of course, Hillary Clinton is on that same bandwagon. Things are not going well. Now, another big thing that got pointed out here was post 4229, and we've got actually a very interesting one. Excellent find by the Anons here. They thought it meant December 5th, the state funeral They kept thinking that this was going to be the day that everything bad came out, but apparently not. The NSA and a lot more are coming soon in bold in brackets. But the thing to point out here is the D5. D5. People were talking about avalanche, the D5 of the avalanche. They were talking about maybe December 5th. Again, these things are put out frequently to mislead, to confuse. So you can bet that last December 5th and the December 5th before that, there was a lot of people worrying, wondering what's going on, trying to block news cycles, trying to use ammunition to make sure they can't talk about whatever story it is that's coming out. Well, come to find, this is what they meant by D5, right here next to the date. Very interesting how that played out. Another thing that was kind of fun, and I pulled a couple more pictures from this, and I think, it's just one more person just showing the D5, trying to come up with the relevance of that. But again, it was a lot of people just saying congratulations, Anon. Well done. I mean, there's just amazing, well done on that, finding this information. This is good stuff. These people are out doing all the right things. Let's do a quick check and see if we've got anything fresh on the cue boards. 4229, no, the D5 is the last one. A lot is going on, folks. Remember, they know what's coming. They know the Democratic National Committee has changed and pushed out their date for when they're going to choose who that person's going to be. They've pushed it out for a reason. They're also trying to keep the opening of the economy to be pushed out until July-ish, mid-July, right? That's probably where the timing's going to be, where they're going to do their next big move with probably Michelle and Hillary, most likely. We'll see how that plays out. Maybe it could be Barack and Hillary. I doubt that very much. Michelle, Hillary, probably. We'll see, though. Who knows? Who knows? But it's going to be around there. And again, they're already starting to build the case in a major way. We're ready for this. Patriots, be on guard. Watch the show. Grab your popcorn. Enjoy, because this will be fascinating. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Click the bell notification if you want to be informed of any videos I do. And I appreciate each and every one of you. It's On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.